Yeah. Well, thank you for joining the GeekFest Film Fest panel. We're so excited to have some amazing, talented directors and cast of some of our amazing films from this weekend. And so we're just going to jump into this. Actually, this is Sterling's birthday today, so it's a big ruse. The decided to throw this entire party of 6,000 people just for you. So I'm happy to be here. They're not all in the room, but they're.
Well, I'll say thank you to every person.
We're super excited to just be able to spend a few moments just talking a little bit about the art and craft of filmmaking, as well as some of the challenges, the obstacles, the opportunities that creating short films brings. Well, my name is Tony Kim. I'm a writer for Crazy for Comic-Con, and I love to write about conventions and pretty much all things geek related, so I'm honored to be here with you guys. So while we do this, why don't we start at the very end over here, and why don't you introduce yourself, introduce the film you made, and we'll of course get a chance to talk more about it, but just give us a quick introduction.
I'm Brian Crew, and I directed a short called Far.
My name is Sterling Gates. I was a writer and producer on the Posthuman Project, which just played here 30 seconds ago.
I'm Kit Quinn. I'm Star Sweethearts of the Galaxy.
I am Mary Ratliff, the director and executive producer of the documentary Good Game, which was shown yesterday.
And I am Vincent Tran. Just want to make sure you guys can see that. I'm the director of Batgirl Rises, the film right before Posthuman Project.
I'm Lindsay Heath. I played Barbara Gordon in Batgirl Rises.
I'm Constance Brennan. I play Harley Quinn.
Kevin Cool. I play James Gordon Jr. in Batgirl Rise.
Hi, I'm Camden Toy. I played the King of England in the film Valiant.
Yeah, who's going to have down their IMDb?
Yeah.
King of England! That beats everybody.
And I'm Robin Phillips. I directed the King here in film Valiant.
Well, let's do this. We could probably go, each of these films, we could go spend an entire hour just talking about the inception and the execution. So we'll have to do our best to kind of cover a lot of ground. But Brian, why don't you start us off and tell us what was the inspiration for Far, and basically why did you birth it into creation?
Far was started because I wanted to do something that kind of had a positive take on humanity. I wanted to show something that where you could show somebody who is looking down on life and not very happy with it, and the outsider shows up, which is always kind of fun for the fish out of water story. In this case, it's a little alien who comes and figures out that he's kind of the most amazing person on the planet. So it's kind of the reverse fairy tale of, usually it's the prince who comes and tells the girl that she's the most amazing person. In this case, it was the boy who was kind of down, and the girl shows up and says, "Oh, actually, you're really amazing. Life is great." And shows him that there's all these extraordinary things in his ordinary world that he takes for granted.
It's the most epic first date story. Great. Sterling?
The Posthuman Project began life. We were a production in Oklahoma. We shot locally. We cast crew in local Oklahoma. And we set out to sort of make a genre mashup. John Hughes meets X-Men living comic book live action project. And then over time it morphed and turned into the Posthuman Project. Which for me, I write a lot. I write comics normally. It's my real job. And so I wanted to do like a very angst-ridden teen story about kids who get powers and use those powers to process what their life is like. And then we found a lot of really, really talented local people in Oklahoma to shoot, and it's been a long 3-year process to get to this point.
Great.
Sweetheart started out as kind of a joke back in college with me and the writer, where I'm a cosplayer, so I've done that for years, and he would come to conventions with me and we just had a laugh at what if a cosplayer thought she was actually a superhero. So Sweethearts was born out of that, where she hits her head and thinks she's a superhero. So it just kind of started as a funny joke back in college, and then all of a sudden we could actually make it. So we did.
So this is a personal
Yeah.
story for yourself?
Yeah, it was a personal project.
Personal experience?
Yeah, most of it's based on stupid things that have happened to me at conventions.
Yeah. That's great. Wow. And then,
I think I'm a superhero.
Kit has some amazing cosplay out there, and definitely if you just Google her name, then she gets some great
Stuff will
work.
turn up.
That's right. And then most of our films have a fiction in nature, but we've got some documentary pieces, and so Mary's here to talk about Good Game. So why don't you share a little bit about what is Good Game and how did it come to create?
So Good Game basically follows a year in the life of a team of professional video gamers. So these are guys that are actually make salary, have sponsorships, and make a living as athletes, but they play StarCraft 2 instead of football or basketball or something like that. And it really all got started. I've been a big StarCraft fan. I love Blizzard Entertainment. I love all of their games. And there was going to be a tournament in my hometown in DC, and because I'm an East Coaster. But yeah, so there was going to be a tournament there. It was going to be a chance for me to meet some of these people that I've watched their videos online and stuff. And so I went, and the atmosphere was just so electric and so much like a sporting event that I was like, there's a story here. There's something here. And since I'm a filmmaker, I was like, well, I think there's a documentary. So I started to chase it down, and I spent a year of my life filming, and then 2 years in post-production, and eventually had a feature. So.
Wow, that's great. All right, thank you. And then Vincent.
Oh, it's me now. Okay. Inspiration behind Back Row Rise as well. I noticed that there was something going on behind the DC or even like the comic book cinema world, and that was the lack of powerful female iconic role models that maybe our young generation will look up to, or even the present generation. And so we wanted to create, me and the executive producers had thought of, I wasn't really a comic book fan, but I really wanted to focus on powerful women that were intellectual, that were not just, talented at just looking good or being in terrible situations, but that they can actually figure stuff out together. And yeah, I mean, like, it was all about, it started out with just female empowerment, and then it turned out to be something bigger. That if we were to go to cons, that we would spread the message about creating, gender equality and less, gender discrimination towards women in the business of film. And so spreading that awareness has been really awesome. And so with the film, I've been able to meet such powerful women like Lindsay and Constance, and even men like Devin over there, who plays James Gordon Jr., support these types of ideas. But they teach me more about my films than I do for myself. They show me like, hey, just don't cast people just because they look the part, but personality-wise, they can carry the message along. And they've done such a great job of speaking for themselves. Like, I haven't really spoken for the film as much as they did during our screening at Universal. But I think you guys have more to say than I do.
We'll get a chance to ask questions. I'm so glad that some of your cast members are here. We'll definitely have a chance to ask about questions related to production and some character development stuff. But let's cover our films real quick. So let's talk about Valiant and tell us the motivation behind Valiant.
Kind of came from two places. I'm not sure where I should be looking to talk. Kind of came from two places, one of which was me and my buddy, who's now my regular co-writer. We always kind of wanted to do something really cool where, like, we saw a Zeppelin or a big airship as kind of a star destroyer, and we never really saw that implemented in a way that wasn't, like, overly obsessive on the form. Whereas we wanted to do something, it's a world that has giant airships and that blow things out of the sky and, terrorize the world below. But what's the story that connects with that? And then somewhere along the way I wrote a scene when I was just messing around with an exercise in class at USC where things just started to connect, and I'm like, okay, so I have a lot of weird insecurities about my own age and the fact that everybody around me is starting to have kids. So, what if I did this silly story about this swashbuckling band of air pirates who are accidentally saddled with this little kid of a lost princess, and they get it in their minds that they can trade her for their own freedom. Then this turned into, okay, well, that's going to be impossible to make, right? And then lo and behold, it actually got in my head that it just had to make it. So found a way to make it, and actually, it was a lot of fun. It turned out pretty well. So.
Well, I'm going to start throwing out a bunch of questions, and we won't go down the line. But feel free, if there's a question that resonates with you, and you just want to speak into it, then definitely jump in. And then, but again, just one or two guys answer questions, then we'll move on to the next ones. So we live in a really interesting time, right? This is never has film been more celebrated than now. Never has more the industry of film as well as the industry of the web has never been more prolific than it is in this current day. And of course, and then now, never before has an individual been the sole creator, the producer, the director, an individual. The same individual can also be the person that shoots the video, that edits it, scores it, that sometimes acts in it, also acts as a marketer, and just basically you're an entire production company as one individual. And so it's a really amazing time, and it's really incredible that we get a chance to now experience film, not just from the traditional, the gatekeepers of Hollywood, but then now at every level we can create film. And so my question to you guys is at what point in your life, and maybe it was early, maybe it was later, that you decided that, hey, I have to make film. I have to make this story, or I need to make stories. But at what point was it in your sort of career that you kind of came to that, sort of had that revelation that this was the path for my future?
I mean, I'll jump in, because I'm one of those rare people that I actually have a very specific moment that happened. Of all things, I was reading a biography of George Lucas, and it was written in between Empire and Jedi. And so it was back when George Lucas was willing to admit his own faults. So there's a whole chapter in there about why he thinks he's not a good director and why he brought in other directors for Empire and Jedi. And I started to read it, and I just had this revelation moment where I was like, I'm not going to be happy in my life unless I'm doing this. And these things that he was saying were his weaknesses, were things that I considered my strengths. So I walked out into the living room and I told my parents, I was like, Mom, Dad, I think I want to be a film director. And bless them, their reaction was, well, okay, where do you go to get the best education to do that? How do you actually make a living at that? We need to start thinking about this actually logistically. So I went to film school for undergrad, and then I was dumb enough to do it again and get an MFA. So
Learn for punishment.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't learn the first time.
Anyone else?
My moment was got out of high school, didn't have a college or hadn't applied to anything, and was working at a video store, one of the 90s video store generations, and just was. Yeah, I know. And
you guys know what video store is. You Google it, you'll
Google Blockbuster Video.
Yeah. It was Suncoast in the mall. I was a mall. Yeah, retail. Actually grew up in Minneapolis where they shot Mallrats. And they were merchandising the store, and they had those guys who were 30 years old, who seemed really old. And their hair was starting to go back, and as it went back, it got longer in the back. And they had the great Minnesota mullet going on. And I was like, I'm going to become these guys. I must leave now. And immediately went to film school at the local community college in Minneapolis. Got my associate, transferred to USC, got my bachelor degree, and started making movies.
Right. That's awesome. Great story.
A lot of USC out here.
Yeah.
What year were you?
99.
Okay. 2012.
Okay, well,
Little separated.
Again with the old thing. I feel like
You were there before they introduced video and it allowed dialogue in the.
We were inching in high 8 at the time, and that was before they had all the fancy George Lucas buildings and stuff.
Before Lucas bought the school.
Yeah, I mean he had sponsoring buildings.
He
Kind of owned it anyway.
Yeah, we had the Spielberg
school,
scoring
he renamed
stage.
it.
His ex-wife's name was still in the editing building. That's it.
They
I'd
finally
just like to
moved
say
They
how
did?
much I love
Oh,
you're
that
kidding. Oh, wow.
film school kids will talk about when they went to film school by what media they worked on. Because I'll tell you, I'll be like, so Mini DV came out when I started film school. And we all know, oh yeah, that's when that was.
Yeah. We don't join sororities or fraternities in film school. We just make films. And so.
Yeah.
We tried to start our own fraternity. We tried to
Yeah.
start a film fraternity
Nice.
at OU.
Okay, we're wrapping around you. Bunch of creatives up here on this panel.
Yeah, the other O.
So how about Vincent, Kim, anyone else? Just did you have a moment in time when you felt like, okay, this is what I'm going to do?
it was always that I always wanted to do this from a young age. There was no moment where, well, I guess when I was little, I wanted to be a princess when I grew up. So I did
So
pretty
you
well.
did that.
I did that.
Now you
know.
dress as a princess.
I just dressed as one and pretend. So the next best thing to princess was actor. So I went with that. I too went to USC. They let me into that school too. Did the film thing there.
All right.
And haven't stopped since my realization that princess was a little harder to achieve.
I know, for me, my parents made the mistake of letting me play with the video camera, and then I bolted it to the railroad tracks on my Lego train kit and was running, doing stop motion shit on, doing it that way. And yeah, I just kind of never stopped. I realized I could actually work with actors, and it was really exciting. I didn't have to go click every time on the camera.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you guys, for your individual projects, for some, in the creative process, the vision is very crystallized very quickly, and this content comes together very quickly. And for a large majority of us, it's a long, laborious, painful process. It's like birthing a child.
It's worse because it takes longer.
That's right. Well, and it's probably more bloodier than that too. So but for you guys, what was that process like for your individual projects? Was it something that came together very quickly? And what was the sort of, I guess, how did the final product kind of come together in your journey?
Well, Sweethearts I'll talk about. Sweethearts was quick, actually, for the whole thing to come together. Like I said, it was a joke back in college, and then all of a sudden realized, hey, we could probably do a Kickstarter and use my fan base to raise the funds to make it. And we were right. We could. So we raised around $36,000 in the Kickstarter, and I'm super proud of this. We went from Kickstarter to airing in under a year. And we got out all the rewards.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I'm still working on it. I'm very proud of this. Under a year. So Sweethearts, once we found our director in Dexter Adriano, once we found him, it was okay, and here's a script, and let's do this. Kickstarter went smooth. Production went as smooth as production can go. Post went as smooth as post can go. And we were lucky enough to get distribution then through Stanley and World Hero.
Someone else?
FAR got started because I had kind of strayed from directing. After film school, I ended up producing 3 features for other filmmakers that were friends. And one of those was an actress named Marion Kerr, and I produced and edited her feature that she wrote and directed called Golden Earrings. And I was kind of lamenting that fact while I was waiting to go in and watch Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair at the New Beverly. And Marion was working at the popcorn counter. So I was in there a little early to get my seat. She and I were talking about she was having trouble with one of her projects, and I was just having trouble getting motivated. And she said, "Well, you need to do a short." I was like, "Well, I'm writing a time travel feature right now. I don't want to take the time to write a short." And she said, "Well, I'll write it for you. You just have to give me the concept." So I went into Kill Bill, watched the movie, drove home. Don't know why the concept connected with that movie at all. It didn't. But I texted her. Guy goes on a date with an alien, and then I found out later on that she was like, "Oh, that could be terrible." And then we discussed all the different ways it could be bad, or it could be good, not bad. And I kind of said, well, the structure would be very simple. They go on a date, the dinner goes horrible, then they have some activity that would make it better, and then at the end he finds out, kind of when they're going for their kiss, that she's from another planet and she's not used to all these experiences. And that was kind of the outline I gave her. And then when I got the script back, trying to make a low-budget short, she had put every activity we had talked about into this montage. So we had to find mini golf and air hockey and a movie theater and dessert trucks, which we never found. Then we had to do pickups walking around Santa Monica and the Ferris wheel, and we ended up having, like you said, the most epic first date adventure, and it was all exteriors and all at night. So it just kind of became this most epic, ridiculous thing. It was supposed to be kind of low budget, 12 minutes, and it ended up being 23 minutes.
So start to finish, what was the timeline for you?
That was April. It was in April when we talked about it. It premiered at Dance with Films in June 2012, and we've been doing festivals now for 3 years.
We spent a year fundraising. We spent a full year fundraising and finding locations. We shot in 4 weeks, and then we spent another year doing post-production stuff. Because we had 2 guys doing all the special effects for a 90-minute feature, so yeah, there's 548 special effects shots.
It was really well
loved you.
That's Empire Strikes Back too.
It's actually a new
Anyone
one.
lose their life in the
It's,
process?
We had more special effects shots than either Star Wars or Empire. Right, we're not proud of that. Wait, we are. We're super proud of that.
Own it.
But that was a long, long process, and they hated us by the end. But it turned out all right. But it's been, we started in January or February of 2012, and we premiered last June. So about a 2-year process. Give or take.
Yeah, I mean, documentary is such a different beast. When I first got started and I actually sat down to start contacting people, my pitch was that all of these professional gamers that were playing StarCraft, all of the Americans were moving to Korea to play, because that's where the money was. And then right after I started pitching this and thinking about how am I going to go to Korea and all this stuff, they announced that they were actually going to start bringing players back over to the United States, and that the United States, our pools of money, our prize pools were getting bigger. And so as we started shooting, the Koreans started coming to the US because they were getting a bigger fan base. So yeah, I mean, we still didn't end up going to Korea for 2 weeks, but yeah, it was basically I spent a year where every week something completely upended my entire concept. And then we got to post, we said, okay, we're done filming, we could film forever, but we're done. And then a giant controversy happened with our main character, and he went on a major forum for StarCraft fans and started insulting everyone. And I can't say what he said because it's a PG-13 comment, but yeah, it sort of everything went topsy-turvy, so then we had to rush to kind of put that in, because we weren't filming anymore, we couldn't get any more footage, so suddenly we were like archival stuff and how to put that story in too. So, and then of course, like at this point we finished last March was our premiere. And we have these epilogues of where everybody is now, and they're all completely wrong now. So it's just these guys, they move too fast. So we have like this whole like, okay, well, he got cut from the team, and he's not on the team anymore, and he's still trying to play StarCraft, and like, no, he's now moved on to Heroes of the Storm, he's gotten signed back to Evil Geniuses, and so yeah, it's just such a fast-moving world.
And so how long was your process as far as from start to finish?
I started my research in November of 2010, and then we premiered in March of 2014.
Wow.
So I was also finishing grad school for a semester of that, so that did make it take a little bit longer. But yeah, it was literally exactly 3 years from first shot to premiere.
Wow.
I think pre-production was the longest for our thing. I think maybe for some of us a lot, because you're preparing everything, the whole
That's
story.
the right way to do it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and different for post-production, I can believe that. But for pre-production, we have a whole bunch of guys writing a script about female empowerment. So, we had to hold ourselves back a little bit and get some advice from women. And, it definitely switched our story, but once that happened, it made more sense to us why we were making the film. But if anything, just the pre-production part was the longest. Production was so easy because we had the agenda down, the execution. Post-production, very simple. We went for a Stanley Kubrick feel, and the story was more of like an Epidus complex story. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
And so start to finish for you?
I think it was about 3 months. Yeah, it was 3 months.
Excellent.
I can't say that my process was anywhere near that fast. Yeah, I think
29 years.
not that.
It could be boyhood.
Something on the order of probably about a year on and off dabbling with the screenplay, going, this is awesome. No, can't, too expensive. Whole thing's got to be in England. Can't do that in Los Angeles. Need how many VFX shots? Okay, so that means all this CG pipeline stuff that we ultimately completely bailed on and went practical. And once the script was in a good place, I'd say probably in total it's like a year and a half up to shooting. Because we storyboarded the whole movie, put that into the Avid, actually, voice over everything, ran test audiences of the storyboards.
Wow.
Then went off and shot for an excruciating week and a bit of constant on and off of night shoots. shooting in part like on an actual airplane we found was sitting actually in front of an old hangar over at the Chino airport. And the airport, for some reason, let us actually build scaffolding around the airplane. And so we actually were filming on an active flight line.
wow.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
Hence why all the night stuff.
Yeah.
And then, so we shot in August 2011 and finished the DCP master in January 2014. And that was with, because all of our visual effects, except for a handful of things, are all practical miniatures. We had to hunt down all these guys that actually still did it. We had to find one of the Cooper rigs from ILM that had been sold off the year before, which that was an adventure in and of itself because the machine was completely capable of going insane and just punching a hole through the wall. It actually punched one of our miniatures right in the face. that was a
Better
nice
than your
scary moment.
actors. Because that's hard to cover up.
But yeah, so I guess, I don't know, call it 3.5-ish years.
Ish years.
Ish. I'm going to say ish. The ish is the plus or minus a number I don't necessarily want to admit to.
Well, since we have some awesome cast members here, let's jump into casting. For your individual projects, was casting, again, something that you knew right away, kind of who you wanted, and you just kind of went after it, or was it a long process? Or what was sort of thinking behind that? Kit, you were able to star in your own process. That helped.
I chose myself.
There you go.
It's a pretty tough process, not gonna lie. A lot of contenders versus myself.
You weren't sure that you could handle it.
I wasn't sure if I was really ready for the responsibility of playing basically myself. Actually, our characters, I joke, the personalities on screen for myself and my best friend in the show, it's swapped. Sylv is one of my co-stars, and her personality is way more Trinity Infinity, my superhero, and my personality is way more Element 47.
Okay.
So that was just kind of funny. We realized we swapped personalities. But casting for ours was pretty easy. We pulled from, because like I said, I went to USC. I have a lot of friends who are actors and a lot of friends who are into cosplay world, and we wanted to pay homage to conventions and cosplay. That's where we started, and what this was sort of a love letter to. So we were able to pull some friends from the cosplay world, like Leanna Vamp guest starred in it, and she's a fabulous cosplayer. But then we had some people who are actors out of USC. So we just kind of pulled from the people we knew, wrote the script around them.
I think it was cool. Vincent cast, directed.
Oh, yeah.
He did a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Back Over Rises, which was cool. I can speak on my part as an actor. Vincent coming to me to play James Gordon Jr. was cool because it allowed me not to be so nervous of the audition process, which any actor knows auditions.
The
I think it just created a freedom, which I think was awesome.
the thing is, with some of the adaptions that we've had with fan films, if you want to call it that, the last time we made Girl of Steel, and we changed her look a lot. We just didn't make her a blonde. We turned her into this redhead, hoodie. I don't want to say emo, but she was distant. You know what I mean? And then for this film, the most cliche things I think for some certain people to cast their characters based off of comic books is to almost look exactly like them. So for us, we went a different route. We didn't want to just choose long-haired Barbara Gordon or I think it's called Pigtail. I think it's Pigtails, right? Harley Quinn and long hair. James Gordon Jr. Really, I'm just talking about hair.
All based on hair.
No, but even age or just certain demographics or whatever it is that this makes this person. I feel like we have to make it different from the comics. You know what I mean? In order to give something new, because I think people want that. You don't want to just give anybody just exactly what they want, or else they're just going to be like, this is just another comic book. It's just the same thing. So yeah, it's actually kind of interesting. I would love to meet you guys.
Well, yeah. Would you guys speak into how did you know the role was right for you and your decision-making process with that?
I didn't know if the role was right for me. but I guess that was it's called Back Over Rising, so she's rising up she's not like Batgirl yet. She's Barbara Gordon, so like she's kind of a little unsure of things too. So like that was easy to play. Like I was unsure, she was unsure. It was typecasting. The rest is history.
With Harley, I mean, I guess I can second that. I didn't know very much, honestly, about Harleen Quinzel, but when I got to know her a little bit more intimately, I thought she was awesome, A, and B, was a little confused with the dichotomy between her PhD kind of persona and her, like, excuse, there are children in the room, like boobs and bum, like just like this kind of like floozy kind of thing. And so I think, how do you marry both of them and have her be kind of like this sexy, cool woman who also, you know, obviously went to college to pursue her doctorate and all of those things. And so once I was chosen for the role, I was really grateful and tried to marry those two personalities.
Any other comments on?
Can we ask the King of England?
I'm curious this guy here.
Were you just like, you know, I always wanted to be royalty.
Go ahead.
You have to do it in your accent. You got to.
Sir, I'm not a monkey on the end of the stick.
I mean, for me, the casting process, it was kind of interesting because our hero lead, like, one of my producers was friends with the guy. And initially, I was like, after I just randomly met him while my buddy was trying to get some billing stuff done for some union paperwork, I was like, fuck, I want that guy for the lead, okay. And then casting director friend from undergraduate helped us actually do all the casting stuff, and that's when, you know, ran into Camden again, who you probably don't remember me from Kyle Higgins's thesis back at Chapman.
Yes, vaguely, yeah.
But, like, you walked in and I'm like, dude, all right, this is going to go well. Because, like, because I needed someone who could actually walk this line between monster cartoon villain and, like, serious plotting, you know, manipulator. And, you know, we'd seen a couple other folks and I was like, okay, these guys are not the kind of inching over the top that I'm looking for. And Camden wanders in and I'm like, all right, this is going to be good. I mean, even, you know, it's like before he even does anything, I just watched that. I think I gave like one adjustment, watched it again. I'm like, okay, you wandered out, and I'm like, all right, I'm like 95% sure that's who we're going with, unless someone else walks through the door who somehow, I don't fucking know. But like, you know, we're watching the videos over, and everyone's like, yeah, it's that guy. It's Camden. I'm like, all right, let's get Camden. And what's great is that, you know, I assume that it's the same with you guys, but like, I wound up having built a very good relationship with everyone on the cast, and they're all like now good friends that we always like track each other down every few months and actually hang out. And I'm sitting here going, damn it, I haven't seen Camden forever. We were shooting the shit back up there at your freaking signing booth, you know, having fun. So I don't know. I'm glad everything worked out.
Yeah, it was fun. I was brought in, as Rob said, I was brought in by the casting director, who I'd worked with on some other projects, and I don't know, it's the King of England. Well, when you're the king, you can do anything you want.
It's good to be king.
It's good to be king, and you do anything you want. In fact, you had me audition with a couple of different people, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. And I think each person you brought in, I subsequently, I think, made it even more outrageous when I was, because messing with them, and you know, it's just.
Yeah, because and in the movie, you know, there's the King of England, and then he basically has his equivalent of Kif from Futurama, who he just, you know, likes to torment, because he knows that what's this guy gonna do? And the casting process you're right, it turned into this game of like, okay, how much can we fuck with the new guy that we just brought in? And it was hysterical.
Yeah, that was.
It was like, whose face will get redder as he drills into him.
Well, can I speak into as you guys all know, chemistry and momentum and the synergy and all that other stuff is so important during a shoot. What was it like on set for you, and was that something that you guys had to struggle with, or was it something that just kind of naturally happened organically? And as sort of leaders in your projects, oftentimes you have to play many roles of not only directing the film, but you're playing like cheerleader, and sometimes you're playing counselor, and sometimes you're playing acting coach, and all that sort of stuff. So, what was it like for you, and was it an easy process, or was it difficult?
I was surrounded by a bunch of females, so that was fun.
Yeah, sounds like a good deal.
Easy motivation. First one at work today.
I think for me, I find that if I'm on set and the momentum's wrong or the chemistry's wrong, I've failed. And it's about pre-production, it's about rehearsals. And so I always go through, especially with the cast, and say, okay, you're going to have the first day of rehearsal, and I'll meet with the actors individually, kind of break bread, have dinner, we'll talk about their characters, start to develop a backstory, but leave some gaps that they can fill in, and then they can come back to the rehearsals, and we'll sit down. It was great on FAR because we sit down, and I talk to the guy who's a human and normal human being. He's like, well, who are you? And I'm like, well, I'm from Chicago, and I'm an artist, and this is, my favorite team is the Cubs, and this is what I like. And then I go to Marion, and who's playing the alien, and say, who are you? I was like, well, I'm a non-corporeal energy creature from another galaxy, and I've taken human form. And the actor just kind of like, whoa! And he just kind of realized what movie we were making and what the tone shift and the gulf between the two characters were. And that really informed the rest of the shoot, actually, of what was between these two people. And then that helps the chemistry going forward. And if we were trying to decide that on set, we would have been screwed.
Yeah.
Somebody else speak.
How's the chemistry on set?
I mean, obviously my thing's completely different, but one of the interesting things for us is that one of our main characters is Idra, who's, like I said, well known as a bad boy. He got in trouble right after we finished filming and everything. And so I'll go to these events where StarCraft fans are gathering, and they're like, oh, how was it working, like having to deal with Idra? Like, that must have been so terrible. He's awful. He flips cameras off, and he yells at people, and he's just so bad-mannered.
Murdered someone.
Yeah. And it's funny, he did actually flip off my cameraman and shove him at one point. That's because he didn't realize he was with me. But it was just really funny because Greg and I actually got along really great because we both like cats. So we
find common ground.
exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, you have an orange cat named Hobbs. That's awesome. And then we just sort of started talking from there, and we got along really well. And then there's another character. I won't name which one it is, but he's kind of beloved.
I'll go through his name it.
Yeah. So Huck. Yeah, everybody really loves him, and they're like, he's the nicest guy, and he's so sweet, and he loves all his fans, and like, maybe he loves his fans, but like, I had a longer conversation with the Korean player who did not speak English than I had with Huck. And he just dodged the camera and everything. So it is one of those things, like, you come in and you do all this research, and you think, like, you do in your documentary, you know who these people are. And especially if there's somebody like these guys who live in front of a camera anyway, and then you suddenly realize they're not at all what this persona is that they've been projecting. So.
How was it working with yourself?
Yeah, working with my best friends was real rough. We actually had sleepovers every night because we are on set, I think it was like 6 a.m. call times for 2 weeks in a row. And so we just kind of all slept at the same place. Like, we all had a sleepover at my house, and rotating cast of people, we'd make different drinks every night. We had different themed drinks to get through. And a lot of our
6 a.m. call times.
Yeah. We made it every day. So many weird things through production, but it was a lot of fun having, coming home with everybody, all able to decompress together and hang out, and then we all carpooled set and came home. Yeah, so we had a big sleepover for 2 weeks.
Next time you make a film, let us know. I think everyone's going to want to.
Yeah.
Cocktail
mixer.
Like Love Boat, there's those
Yeah, exactly.
Isaac in the corners.
Came back to my 2-bedroom, 2-bath. It's real fun. No apartments.
So let's talk about, we actually don't have time to talk about that. Let's talk about something that I think is maybe not talked about a lot on panels like this, but is, I think, really intrinsically important when it comes to craft filmmaking, and it is taking risk. And we all know, we all have in sort of the back of our mind, I can choose option A, which is going to be easier and simpler and cheaper, and it's going to be more acceptable by the mainstream, whatever. But then I got option B, and I feel like I'm running the risk of looking like a fool. But if this works, it can be awesome, or it can really change the whole direction of my piece. And so speak about the importance of taking risk and maybe an example that kind of played out in your own project. Vincent, go ahead.
Our film right now is like, well, we're scheduled in April to go to Dubai and screen at Middle East Comic Con. But when we found that out, I immediately, when they put our name on the Facebook page, I got my first death threat ever. It was this anonymous Facebook guy who was saying like, hey, you know, you can't really tell the community of women how to live, and like, it was pretty obscene because I did more research on it and I talked to some friends. I was like, hey, I got this death threat or whatever. And please don't quote me on this. This is just what my friend said. He said
This is being recorded.
he said that apparently women weren't allowed to drive legally. That's crazy. But I respect it. Not that type of thing. I just respect their culture. Whatever they do, they do. But I get a little scared. You know, I'm just like, okay, I don't care about dying for the idea. If the idea we love means so much to changing the world a better place, I think it's worth dying for. But it's being afraid that you're going to die before the message gets out there. That's what scares me. But that was my scariest moment in the film. And yeah, it was very risky, absolutely.
No, that's great. And just to be able to take a piece and to speak on, make a social commentary, that's so important. I mean, that's, you know, that can be scary, but wow, the potential and opportunity to change culture and to influence culture around the world, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And if I may, just to add on that in a less threatening way, I think Vincent takes a risk in changing the characters up a little bit, and in a way that may eliminate some of his fan base, but also that he believes in, and I think that that's pretty ballsy and cool.
Yeah, I've had some people not like the film because it's not exactly like the comic book. So yeah, you're right about that, Constance, for sure.
Nerds are picky about stuff.
There's like a YouTube comment that I watched it on YouTube and it said like Barbara.
Turn them off.
I'm a masochist, I guess, but someone said like the meanest comment was like Barbara Gordon's not hot enough, and like I commented, but then I comment below and I said I'm sorry. and then he said okay.
That's a weird place.
Yeah, like that was if that's the meanest thing that YouTube has to say, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So I got
YouTube's
really
basically
easy.
12-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
It's all 12-year-olds who don't
With, like,
understand things
there's
have
no-
consequences.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just
I
like
had
typing
so
with
much
one
fun.
finger.
When we
Oh
were
my
doing our
God.
fundraising and we were still filming, we did a lot of stuff with Reddit because there's a pretty big StarCraft community on Reddit. And I did quite a bit of like interviews with geek stuff. And I got every YouTube video that was interviewing me about my project, the first comment every time, invariably 100% of the time, was about my appearance.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not an actress for a reason.
Yeah.
So I get it. I'm like, you know, if it affected my directing ability, that would be fine. But yeah, so I went on Reddit, and whenever anybody would talk about it, people would start going on about, you know, why should we, especially we did a Kickstarter, and people were like, why should we support your passion project, and why should we do this? And I mean, it was very insulting, a lot of it. And it's a lot of times if you just reply to them and you're like, I'm sorry, or this is why I'm doing it, or whatever. And a lot of people tell you, like, don't feed the trolls, don't respond. And sometimes you can look at it and like the guy that called me hamburger helper, there was nothing I could do to win him over.
Yeah.
But the guy that was like, you know, if you can't put in $50,000 of your own money to make this movie, then you don't deserve to make it. That guy I had a response for, and I didn't win him over, but I had other people that started to weigh in. And it started to get together this community of indie filmmakers too, saying like, this is a project I'm working on, this is the kind of budgets we're doing, this is the timeline we're talking about. And so we started sort of educating people. And that was really nice. I mean, that was kind of, you know, I wasn't sure if I was supposed to engage with those people. And I have to admit that now the environment is very different in the gaming community. And that is something I won't necessarily touch with a 10-foot pole because I don't want my first death threat.
Who else has gotten death threats? Like,
Is it?
You got one too?
not for our film, but I write comics, and so we killed a super character.
Oh, that would do it.
Yeah,
That would do it.
And someone threatened to slit my throat and stuff the hole in the Gulf that was spilling oil a few years ago. Stuff my body, stuff that hole with my dead body.
Yours is more
And
specific.
who did we kill?
Colorful.
I did this story called New Krypton, and we blew up New Krypton. Like,
Oh,
killed Kryptonians.
You killed the whole planet.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
I had to write that scene. It was a really hard scene to write. It was a really hard thing to do. But like, so the issue comes out, and I'm like nervous. Like, God, I wonder how people are going to take it. Twitter open. I'm going to murder you.
Well, there it
That's
is.
how they took it.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, I'll be first to apologize for that comment.
Yeah.
I'm in the moment, so sorry.
When you asked this question, you had no idea what was going to take that like risk to personal health
So
and
it's fine.
safety.
I mean, you're taking a risk. Any type of
Yeah.
storytelling is risk taking.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
and you're putting your heart and your passion into what you want your message to be, and that message can and will have consequences,
Absolutely.
unintended, absolutely unintended, because you never know how people are going to react to the type of story you're telling. Like the bravery comes in telling that story unflinchingly and telling it how you want to tell it without worrying about reactions. And you'll get good reactions and you'll get bad very bad reactions.
Amen on that.
You just have to be willing to take that risk, and that's what our job as storytellers is. I mean, that's what we sign up to do.
And
And
the
then we
reason
live
we
with
do
that.
it is because we're passionate and the fans are passionate.
Absolutely.
Like, if they didn't care so much, we wouldn't be as interested, I'm sure.
Sure.
So,
And
just
something
wish
that,
they would care a little
I
more.
don't know if you guys found this, but I just found this interesting, was that the more, or the greater, like, the perceived risk or just insanity of whatever I was trying to do, always got more support of people who were just like, you doing what?
Yeah.
Well, that's insane. I want in. Like, it's regularly, at different intervals and different stages of production, post-production, whatever, it constantly yielded more people who came out of the woodwork who were like, dude, no one's done, wait, you want to blow up a bunch of miniatures and all this stuff? Dude, we haven't done that in like 5 years. Get over here. We got a rig. I'm like, okay.
That's awesome.
And like all just, there's just this interesting thing that it seems like the higher the perceived risk of what you're trying to do, just gets more people excited about doing something novel that they otherwise couldn't do, which at least lets you get it to the point that you can start to show it to people. I found.
Yeah.
Well, I think also we, as filmmakers and artists, we get to the point where it's like we get to know a lot, and everybody wants to be doing what our art, or we want to. There's the guys who want to blow up stuff. There's people who want to act. There's people who want to write and direct, and we get to know a lot, and we can't do that. So suddenly you throw down the gauntlet and say, "I'm doing this." Everybody comes in because that is actually just a bold risk in and of itself. Just saying, let's make a movie, and that's kind of the fun part.
That's awesome. Well, we're running out of time, so I want to get to a few other things. But let's do this. Brian, why don't you tell us more about how we can learn about FAR, or at least where we can follow you on Twitter, and then also one piece of marketing or something that you're doing to help spread the word and kind of generate awareness about FAR, and maybe what's next, or just anything like that.
Okay, well, FAR has been doing festivals since June 2012, so we've played 40 festivals internationally.
Wow.
It's in distribution. It's easy to find. You can go to farshort.com. There are links to IndieFlix and Hulu where you can watch it. It's also available on, there's a special edition DVD out on Amazon. And there's lots of little mini documentaries and web stuff on the website as well. My next film, I decided to kind of steer away from science fiction just to stretch my legs in another department. So I just finished a World War II film that takes place in the last day of the Nazi occupation of Paris. It's called Une Libération, which is a liberation. French. Because I just try to be as pretentious as possible.
It's that USC coming through.
Exactly. And it's premiering in a month at the Phoenix Film Festival, and then in 2 months we'll be at the First Class Film Festival at LA Live. I think another guy,
I'll see
somebody
you
else is
both
going
of
to be
those
there.
then.
Yeah, I'm going to see a Phoenix too.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
I've heard the Tilted Kilt and Red Robin are the big drinking spots. Get ready
Let's go
for
around Robin.
And there's
Free
the
fries.
80s party on Saturday night, so we gotta check that out.
Oh, nice, dude. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, Sterling.
Sorry, what was the question?
I
I got distracted by Tilted Kilt.
Find out more about the.
We have a website. We're posthumanmovie.com. You can find us on the website. We just secured distribution. We'll be on iTunes, etc. in May. And we have trailers up and featurettes. And there's a comic. We did a comic prequel. It's available on Amazon. And then we're talking about doing more post-human material. And then I write comics in my day-to-day life, and so sterlinggates.com. You can find me and my work, and I'm on Twitter and all the websites. all the websites.
Okay.
Sweethearts, you can find that on Stan Lee's World of Heroes, his YouTube station. We're on Twitter at Sweethearts Army. And yeah.
What's next for you in the future?
We're trying to get season 2, which Stan Lee's people are working on getting some sponsorship for that. So we don't have to do a Kickstarter again because Muscle can't take it. Can't do it. So hopefully we'll get a season 2 once Stan's folks secure us money.
Twitters?
Yeah, the Twitter for Sweethearts is Sweethearts Army. Myself, it's Miss Kit Quinn on any social media. So if you want to track me down and see my fun costumes.
Good Game is available right now on Amazon, iTunes, Xbox, and 7 other digital distribution channels. And we have DVDs up in the dealer's room as well, right here. And you can find information about it at goodgamemovie.com or my website, which is 9hourfilms.com. It's all spelled out. And then I'm on Twitter at 9hourfilms, again, all spelled out. And my next project is I'm actually probably going to be going back to fiction films for a little while, flex that muscle a little bit. So I'm working on a superhero project.
Back Row Rises, you'll find it on YouTube, Facebook. Right now we're in partnership with Women in Film LA and the UN Women's of He for She campaign. So with that partnership, they're going to debate on which type of advertising they're going to do for the film. But until then, we are filming our next episode in March. That's fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, hopefully that'll be done less than 3 months, hopefully. Yeah, that's it.
And Cash, please tell us where to find where we work if you have anything coming up next or anything
I make like sick vines.
Sick
I got like 400 followers on Vine, just saying. Dear future me, just saying. Whatever. No, I just did this feature-length film. I didn't just do it. It just came out. And it's actually called Old Fashioned. It's about old-fashioned, fulfilling relationships.
Oh,
And,
I've heard about that film.
yeah.
I think the director went to the same college I went to for my undergrad.
It's funny, Rick Schwitzwelder.
I think so, yeah.
That's how you really say it, Schwitzwelder.
I would never be able to actually
He
say
says
it.
it.
Does he have
wrong,
sick
I say
vines?
it right. Does he have sick
Are his vines
No,
sick?
How
just
sick
me.
are they?
Just me, so.
Are you on the Twitter or the other
No
social
one
media?
wants to hear what I have to say on Twitter.
Surprised.
Most of my thoughts I just tell my mom. So. My mom's name is Amy. If you want to call her up, she'll tell you.
Have her on
Okay.
Twitter. She can tell her
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
you're
that's
saying. So.
Lindsay's thoughts.
That's
At
right.
Lindsay's thoughts.
Creep thoughts. Okay. Anyway, please you talk now.
Okay, well, Constance Brenneman, the Toy Soldiers is a feature that I'm in. It's coming out. It'll be on a lot of the social, I guess, iTunes, all of the...
Voodoo,
Yeah,
PlayStation Network.
Smoke
Yeah, it
signal.
had an AMC run, and now it's going to come out on Friday, I believe. It's called The Toy Soldiers. And then in 2 months, there's a psychological thriller,
Is it Night Eyes?
Night Eyes, coming out in a couple months. There's a few different films that you can see through those platforms. If you just IMDb me, then you'll be able to find them.
Devin Cool. You can at me at my website, devincool.com. Pretty simple. Instagram, dcool819. Working on Back Over Rises 2.
Yay!
Outside of that, nothing much. I worked on TNT's Mob City last year. Had a cool co-star. I got to work with Frank Darabont.
Nice.
So it's trying to compare to that. It's kind of tough.
You have numbers in your Instagram.
I do.
The numbers I can't remember.
819.
Okay.
I remember.
Camden?
I'm well. You can get me on Facebook or Twitter. It's Camden Toy. I have a comedy romance superhero movie coming out called Now Hiring, where I play Lord Menace, the super villain.
You're a
Yeah,
super
Lord.
villain.
Super villain.
Or
Yeah,
God.
that's going to be.
Which is better, super villains?
They're both a lot of fun.
Okay.
Except super villain, you wear a lot of prosthetic makeup. So.
And have sick vines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that'll be coming out. That should be in distribution shortly. And then I have, I'm in Joe Hollow's new horror film, A Blood Story, which I believe has also just gotten distribution. So those are two things coming
Great. And
Yeah, and you can find more information about Valiant on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/ValiantFilm, the Twitter, which is @ValiantFilm, and the website I won't say because I'm in the middle of completely redesigning it and it currently looks terrible. And yeah, it is it, but it's just
Find it.
I'm in the middle of designing something much fancier, more elegant. And just, I'm currently spending like 75% of my time conspiring to get the financing to do more ridiculous adventures of these 3 air pirates. So,
Awesome. Okay. Well, again, my name is Tony Kim, and I'm on Crazy, the number 4 Comic-Con, exclusively on MySpace. I'm bringing MySpace back. Doing it. Yeah. That now. Here. Anyway, hey, we're going to stick around for the next hour, show some more film, as well as have an awesome award ceremony. But hey, let's thank our awesome directors and our cast for filming this together. Stick around.